back in them, it was brutal, you know. That's why I couldn't wait to get a bit older and leave to join the army.
Hi and welcome to Shadowboxr. My name is Jacqui-Lee Pryce. Today's guest is a former soldier and GB boxing performance coach, the current Olympic boxing coach for Bahrain, Tony Davis. How you doing?
Hi, Jackie. Yeah, all good. Busy but good.
Long time.
Yeah, been a very long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. Lots happening in your world.
53 weeks since we came back over. It was just over, 53 weeks since we boxed them last time. So,
And I'm guessing that there's a lot of your old mates that you'll be up against tomorrow.
yeah, I mean, last year, in the opposite corner was a former boxer of mine, Shane Sadler, took him to his England vest against Wales, and it was just great, because it's all about the collaboration and trying to help develop, or especially my boxers. But it's just good to have that sort of Bahraini Anglo, relationship.
But I'm sure though, when you are up against like people that you've trained, you must be thinking, I've got to pit my skills against theirs.
Well, sometimes I think you just got to be a bit mature about it, and as you get older, you do get a bit more mature, and it's not really sometimes about the result. It's about that sort of connection and continue it. Having said that, um, I think we're feeling a stronger team this year than we did last year. So but we'll see, and it's down to the boys and girls as soon as that bell goes, as we both know.
One of my first meetings that I had with you was I think it was at GB, and it was a camp. I have to say, a very generous coach. I was up and coming, and I was probably one of the most least experienced coaches there, and definitely I think the only female. But you treated me as an equal and you gave me encouragement. And just thinking back, people like yourself, I think there was Q Shillingford was one, Mick Gannon was another. These are the people that I remember that really encouraged me when I first started coaching. Does that kind of come from the army, do you think, that sort of sense of inclusion, the team player, sort of taking someone under your wing?
It's definitely got some traits there. I mean, all coaches do have similar traits, and the first one that sticks out massively is that to help others, I would say. But in the military, we do hone these certain skills where we try and include one another because it's that team ethos, isn't it? And I think sometimes you can go around the boxing world and some people won't share anything because they think it's a big secret, So in the army, I think we're a bit more open, or in the military, kind of a bit more sort of open and look out for others.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, you actually hit the nail on the head about keeping things a secret and not wanting to share them, because that's the experience that I had prior to kind of coming on this camp. So, it was a great experience, and it stuck with me because that must have been, God, over 20 years ago.
Yeah, was it? Wow.
Well, maybe not quite 20, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it was actually probably around about anywhere between 2009 to 2013, 14, maybe, I would say, having a guess. Because 20 years ago, myself and Emir Khan and people like that, Darren Barker, were at the Olympic qualifiers, trying to reach Athens. So, so I always remember these 2024, 2004. It was like looking a lot thinner, the 81 kilos, and we were trying to, So I always try and keep these like sort of, these sort of highlights throughout your life. And 20 years ago.
I think, because I think I started coaching in 2003, and I remember I was a level 2, and you took me under your wing. So take me back to the beginning. Can you share some of your earliest memories growing up in Gateshead and how your family life shaped who you are today?
Yeah, probably like most boxers, didn't have a particularly enjoyable upbringing or childhood. I was the eldest of 7 kids, and I anyone that used to come near me, I used to what we call adopt the hedgehog, which is lie down and cover up, and let someone beat the hell out of you. But that's the only thing we knew. But then my stepdad came along and sort of got me into boxing. That's probably the only thing I've got to thank him for. But it wasn't a great, enjoyable experience because it was done through fear. And I remember going to a boxing club and, being 11, I think it was probably in December 1985 now, and had my first bout in February, 26th of February 1986. And I believe that I have these specific dates in my mind. So I was just before the age of 12, and I remember winning my first bout, and it was good. I won my first 3 actually. But well, it was difficult because if I upset my stepdad, he'd do it. He'd beat the hell out of us, and that was kind of what made me. I couldn't wait until I got a bit older to join the army, and that's what I did when I reached 17. But those early days were like I was it was tough, It was but it was great, and you wouldn't change it for the world. I remember winning the Northeast, my first ever Northeast schoolboy title, and I went down to Knottonley, and who I met down there, it was the first ever Asian kid I ever seen, and I remember his dad having this big sort of Betamax handheld video thing, which was huge at the time, and it was not only that then Prince Nazim, and I think he was maybe the weight above me or the weight below, which some people won't believe. They might do now, like looking at Naz, but yeah, I mean, I just had a growth spurt. So yeah, it was tough upbringing. In Gateshead, I ended up boxing for Lobley Hill. I had six bouts for them, winning 5, and I moved. My stepdad moved me to another gym called Marley Hill, which especially the northeasterners would know. And funny enough, I just went to an event, a club show on Thursday night, and I took our Bahrainis there just to show them what an actual English domestic show is. And I said to this guy, he's waiting to take a boxer in. I just said, "Oh, what club are you, mate?" And he went, "Dunstan." I went, "Oh, do you know a guy called Ernie Blengerin, who was my old coach there?" And he just pointed in the corner. There he was, 72 years of age, taking a box in the corner. And we're just like embraced. Never seen each other for about like maybe what 30 odd years. Unbelievable. And so I left Marley Hill, and then my stepdad set his own gym up, which was the team's amateur boxing club. And what it was is probably most families, we used to have to go and set the gym up, train, take it back down. So that back in them, it was like it was brutal. That's why I couldn't wait to get a bit older and leave to join the army. So.
Do you think though that there was a desire though to kind of, I don't know, prove yourself to your dad? Because not only in the early years, you've just said that he was quite abusive, but then on top of that, you join a gym. Is that a way of proving yourself to him in a sense?
Well, to be honest, we didn't have any choice but other than to join the gym. That's how it went in the family, and my other brothers sort of followed me as well. But you stepped out of line, and then you got a good beating. It was just simple as that. Not only that, we didn't have a life. That's the main thing. We didn't have a life like other normal teenagers. Probably hanging around street corners. Boxing is one great thing, takes kids off the streets. But when you're made to do stuff, it's not the same as wanting to do it, which happened to me many years later. So I just couldn't wait to get away from it, because not only would we train every day, so you'd wake up at breakfast, go to school, get a bit of food inside you, come back, have a bowl of cereal, then go to the gym, take all the kit, set the gym up, train yourself, take it back down, and repeat. And then every weekend we used to have to go out and collect money for the boxing club. I remember taking I'm sure some old people will remember this, but we used to take our medical cards around as IP, MA free books basically to go on the pubs and clubs, and you know, um, and it was just. I think that's why I'm good at sort of raising sponsorship, because I took some of those learning things, of how to speak to people and sort of get them on side and what have you. But yeah, I just couldn't wait to get away from home and join the army, But it wasn't easy as that, because I remember going to the Army Careers Office and I was underweight. I was something like 40, 47, 48 kilos, and I was still pretty small, believe it or not. And it was only when I joined the army I had a growth spurt,
And then on top of the kind of stuff that's going on at home, you're also, trying to assist your stepdad with, with the gym.
Yeah.
What was it like moving between like refuges during your childhood, and how did that impact you, like mentally and emotionally?
Well, yeah. So all I wanted in life was a bit of stability, and I think I remember being in school once, and the teacher said to you, the headmistress wants to see you. What have I done now? So you go there, and then you see your mum with social workers and black bin liners and all the kit, and then it was up to the next refuge, living on drop spawns. And back in the day, even over the sort of last 5 to 10 years, I've even passed some of them. They're still going, So yeah, it was horrendous, to be honest. And what would happen is, after a period of time, stepdad would always find you somehow, and then everything would be come back, come back. But when you see your mother being beat up, and then your brothers and sisters as well at the same time, it's yeah, kind of, it's not great for the mental side, So, but I just craved sort of stability, And probably I was one of the lucky ones that got away.
It's interesting that you say. It's interesting for me to hear that you're still in love with boxing, in a sense, because you're still in the game. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, you would forgive you for saying, I want to walk away and I don't want anything to do with it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you cope with this domestic violence, the difficult situations at school. Was boxing an escape then? Did it start to become an escape for you?
It wasn't an escape, because I was made to do it, and the worst thing about it was, which I never wish this on any kid, was I remember boxing a few times, and not having a good performance or whatever, and I come back, and then, because obviously he's had a few beers, I've had another bout, but it was all one-sided. Sometimes, I'm not playing a sympathy card here. I'm just telling you exactly brutal, straightforward facts. Is that sometimes you couldn't go to school because of the injuries that you had, and I'm sure people are a lot worse off. But now you could probably understand why I just wanted to get away. And but when I didn't pass my medical test to get in the army the first time, I cried. I proper cried, upset, and because I knew I had to go back to that life.
And so you joined the army at such a young age, and did you actually box for the army team, didn't you?
Yeah, so it's I'm probably not the most luckiest person sometimes through life, but so I went and did what the army recruitment said: eat some chips, lad. And I put on a little bit of weight. Managed to get in the army 17th of August 1991, and that was maybe I was like 7.5 stone at the time or whatever. I was really fit. That was one good thing. And I went through 21 weeks of basic training, infantry training, and it was like I was like a duck out of water. None of my family or anyone had been in the army. I think my granddad had been in the Second World War, but I was just totally brand new. But at the end of training and them 21 weeks, I couldn't even do my pass-out parade because I'd contracted bacterial meningitis, which was like 4 weeks in hospital. Didn't have a clue what was happening. I was lucky to get through it, and even on the parade, I couldn't even attend the parade, the passing out parade, which formally recognised you as a professional British soldier. and pick up my best of PT target because I'd won best of PT and out my platoon. But yeah, so I had to like spend a good few months back in the UK before I was posted out in Northern Ireland. But luckily, I went through all the tests and my brain wasn't that damaged, with meningitis. So I was able to box again.
I'm absolutely sorry. I'm absolutely floored, Tony, because it's weird when you think you know someone and you know absolutely nothing about them. Do you know what I'm saying? See, so you get meningitis. I'm guessing just that drive, that determination to do well in the army. You get better because I think that's all mental as well.
Yeah.
And then the next minute you're off to Northern Ireland, aren't you?
Yeah.
How did that shape both your career and your personal growth?
Well, I think I must have been a little bit driven anyway because when I went back to the Basingbourne, is near Cambridge actually. So that was where I did more of my training. What they do there, once I went through all these tests and everything before I went to Northern Ireland, I had to get back to full fitness. So they had me doing an odd job, go for this, go for that. But I asked them if I wanted to be a PTI, I wanted to be a physical training instructor in the army. That's what I always dreamt of. So they seconded me to the PT wing for 3 days of the week. So I just had to do the go for 2 days a week. And I absolutely loved it. I was like, just with all this experience from all the instructors of all that. And it really helped me, and come back to full fitness. And then I got posted to Northern Ireland. And, in the early 90s, I was still all over the place. And I think it made me grow up quite quickly. But like probably most boxers, we're not the most, should we say, maybe we don't stick to the rules as much, should we say. And I missed out on the teenage stuff and what have you. And when I joined the army, when you went to battalion, you got initiation ceremonies. But because I became friendly with one particular guy during my time in Basingbourne, he gave me this letter to send back, and I didn't get any of that. I was kind of looked after. But and I went into a platoon because I was still not 18. I was it's called Care Bears platoon. So it's just an affectionate name because you can't go on the streets of Northern Ireland until you turn 18. Wow. So anyway, you get some guys like because you're brand new try to bully you. Mm-hmm. So I stood up for the first time really in my life because I didn't want what used to happen at home. So I stood up to these guys, and I sometimes let my fist do the talking. So if I'm getting hit first, I'll retaliate. So got in a little bit this, that, and the other, and which is kind of normal for most infantry soldiers, because you train to close in and kill the enemy type thing. So there's a lot of testosterone there. But I was still, a young kid, and then I went out on the streets for the first time, and it was kind of daunting, because you're just like sort of following the leader, And I remember being in this place in South Armagh, place called Newry, border town, and you'd be stuck in a police station for six weeks, and you'd go out on a daily basis, patrols, try and disrupt, terrorist activity, etc. But on my off time, what I did was I set myself up. I'm going to box on my. I'd ask for permission for a box on my stepdad's club gym, because I felt different when I went back. I felt like I'd become a little bit of a man, and I wouldn't be pushed around as easy. So I remember coming back, boxing on the show, and some of my army mates my new army mates came to see me, watch me, and I was okay. And that was sort of the initial stages of me, army career.
It's funny that how the baton has changed then. Do you know what I mean? It's been passed over. Like, you were no longer fearful, it sounds like, of your stepdad. Did he change towards you at that point?
Well, yeah, I thought I could be a grown up and go back and, whilst I was on leave, but he threw me out of the house. So I used to go and stay at my auntie's then. And there's one particular time, actually, I took a bit of a risk, and because I was young, I was a bit naive as well. So Burley Boxing, who sort of featured later on in my career, and the teams. So I knew Ronnie, who was a coach, and that. They joined forces, and then they went over to Ireland. But Southern Ireland, I shouldn't have been in Southern Ireland, but I went. So I took a little bit of a risk, and I tried to box over there, but I didn't box, but because the kid pulled out, whatever. And I remember being on that event. He'd been drinking, and I just went to bed. And he used to do what he used to do was when I was back at home, when he was full of the drink, come in and wake me up while I was just sleeping and interrogate me and then beat the hell out of me. So this particular time I was pretending to be asleep. Bear in mind, I was a soldier. I was a young soldier then, and he tried the same. So I took my watch off to say and stood up to him, and he backed down. Yeah, I probably would have had more comfort in giving him what he did to me, but sometimes you have to be the bigger man. And ever since then, he never ever laid a finger on me again.
To be honest, it was probably much more frightening the fact that you were able to control yourself and not beat the living, you know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
But
the
there's a lot.
Go on.
There's probably a lot of kids that probably went far worse, but it's, I think maybe just them times, I don't think nowadays life sort of changed, for the better in one sense. But yeah.
You've most certainly found the positive out of, a negative, which is really encouraging to hear. Just wanted to take you back to the initiations. What kind of things are you allowed to share? Or you're not really allowed to share. What kind of things are they fun or are they quite cruel?
Depends how you look. If you're experiencing it, no, I wouldn't have thought it'd be fun. So there's some, one kid would be, because when you first join your class, is what we'd say, and pardon my French, is what's called a red horse. You're brand new, and
arsed.
Red ass. Yeah. So people would like go out, the more experienced guys, and they'd come back, and they've been to the naffy or whatever, they've had a few drinks and whatever, and then they would wake people up and then have some fun type thing. I remember one kid being forced to eat these cubes, the disinfecting cubes that you see them in urinals. Yeah, and then the med centre at 4 o'clock in the morning getting your stomach pumped, And then there'd be times where they'd put you in a sleeping bag and hang you up, and then you'd be used as a punch bag with you inside it. So be suspended. And I remember once we used to have these wooden boxes, we were called MFO boxes, and I'm sure some of the veterans would know this. And you'd always have to put all your kit in there whilst you were going on deployment, because maybe there'd be a chance you're not coming back, or whatever. I just remember one kid getting put down in that and the lid getting screwed on and then just pushed down the stairs. And then you'd go down like this. It's probably funny as long as you weren't like sort of yeah. But it was just all part and parcel of it, But when you're inside that box, I think what one of the kids was telling me was that you just hear footsteps running down, lots of laughter to come down and push you down the next flight. So
it's not funny, but it's like, it's definitely a man thing.
But when you look back,
really is.
It's like it kind of toughens some people up as well. We should, some people would find out the hard way as well that if you weren't hygienic enough, they would get what they call regimental baths, which isn't very fun, but it would just be a sort of lesson. And that was back then, when
I now need to know what a regimental bath is.
So as someone who's not particularly being hygienic, he would find himself sort of taken to a bath and given a good scrubbing. We'd say that. I won't go into specifics, but that'd be it. Well, that sort of stuff doesn't happen anymore now because how we've moved on in life.
I'm guessing that's considered bullying now, whereas before it would probably be considered banter.
Well, I mean, you're very, being here in Catterick as well, in North Yorkshire's, you see how the army's completely changed. I left back in 2017 officially, and it's changed massively since then. In the past 7 years.
So, Tell me about some of the challenges that you faced in your boxing career. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you fight David Hay?
No, I didn't fight
Oh.
David Hill, but I sparred against him, and that's what got me into
Ah.
the England team. So yeah, David Hill was, you know, I had a good sort of rapport with him, and I mean, so probably relates to my army career as well. I spent 8.5 years in the army during my first stint, and 2 tours in Northern Ireland as well, and tour to Bosnia. And then there come a time where I thought I had to grow up and I had to leave the army. I had to sort myself out a little bit, um, and I left, and that's where I come involved with Ronnie Rowan Berkeley. So fast tracking forward, I was doing a civilian job. I was supposed to box in the northeast one time. Ronnie called me during the day at work, said, Tony, they pulled out, they want to box someone else. He said, look, because you're ready anyway. He said, England are up at Peterlee, which was one of the camps that they used to attend for training. He said, so why don't you come along and do some sparring? So, well, I'm ready, I've got half the day booked off. So I went along there, and I really didn't know who David Hare was until I did a bit of research into him, and I think he was sort of fresh off his world silver medal in Belfast after dropping the Cuban and what have you. And anyway, I got partnered with him because luck would have it for me was Courtney Fry, who was a Sydney Olympian from London but lived in Liverpool. He was out with pleurisy, so automatically they just paired me up. Terry Edwards and Kelvin Travis, they sort of paired me up with David Hare. Anyway, I built a little bit of rapport. We're just doing a bit of technical work, and he was all right. He was great. And then the next day, this was on the Friday. On the Saturday, they said, "Oh, can you come back?" So okay, come back. And on the Saturday, they had this kid he's pretty well known and from Sunderland region, guy called Carl Dukes. When I was a young kid, he was boxing in the senior ABAs, George Wimpy ABAs, and he had a huge following from the northeast. Well, David Hayes in there, and he's just battering him, and I'm in next, and I'm thinking, my adrenaline's through the roof. I'm a bit concerned, Well, I like to think I had all right feet, so I went in there and sparred with him, and I was just fast hands, fast feet, and I probably deep down I think he might have took it easy on me, So I got done all right there. And then they said, could you come back on the Sunday? Because back then he used to do just the weekends training. And so I came back on the Sunday and went in there and did some more technical sparring. And David said to me, he says, you could win the ABS. And I took that as a huge compliment, I'd went in the year before, I think, with Berkeley, and I only reached the quarterfinals. Got beat off a kid called Sammy Pryce from Pinewood Star, 10-9. And he went on to reach the final and he got beat off Courtney Fry in the final. So this time, obviously, I went in when David Hare said, oh, you could win them. After that camp, or just before I was leaving, they said, listen, keep yourself ticking over. And I'm thinking, what? So that's a Sunday. On the Tuesday, I get a call off Ronnie Rowan saying, Tony, you're boxing for England. Oh, what? You box for England, 81 kilos against USA down in Park, on Sky, in front of the Sky Sports cameras. I was like, what? Anyway, it was just, never ever thought I'd box for my country, even as a young kid. I just didn't think I was good enough. Anyway, this particular time, I went in there, went down to Crystal Palace, absorbed all that, was there. I was supposed to be sharing a room with David Hare, but he never turned up until the weigh-in. We got weighed in the day before, whatever it was, with kilo allowance, and with the likes of Stevie Bell, Stephen Birch, Mark Moran, a few others, and obviously David Hare. So we do the ring parade, and I'm stood next to David Hare, and we're boxing. We're doing the ring parade with the Yanks, and it was a great feeling. Like got this England vest on. I've just been interviewed by Mr. Smith from Sky Sports, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. And just before I went in, Stevie Birch said to me, he says, Tony, you know you're boxing. He said, the kid you're boxing beat David Hale in this fixture 2 years ago. I was, what? I start, getting a bit worried, But I went in there and I think David Hale tried to blast him out, blew a gasket, and ended up getting beat. But I beat this guy called Joseph Pastorello 13-5, So that was my England debut. And remember the guys were saying, "Oh, you'll get on the team now. You'll get on funding." And then I went in the ABAs. I won the ABAs in Barnsley 2002. I went across to Killarney. I won the Four Nations. And in between that time, I was having some not issues, just difficult to work in train, because every time I was being requested to go down to Crystal Palace, the work wouldn't let me off. So I took a decision after speaking with Ronnie to rejoin the army. So basically, that's what I did. I rejoined the army 17th of July 2002. Got back in there, and then went straight to the army team, and we actually helped out the Commonwealth Games, because I was in, I was sort of in the frame to be picked, but Courtney Fry was picked. But I was in Manchester for that, and then I went in the ABAs again, but through the army. I reached the final in York Hall, and I was beaten by good young kid, talented kid, James Boyd, 2019. But England selected me to go to the Four Nations and in Cardiff, and I went there and I won them. I beat Ken Egan, who was the future Irish Olympic silver medalist from Beijing. So, which was, because he was a tricky customer, but I managed to beat him, and then that put us on the path to become full-time athletes, because we never used to do full-time athletes, and I think it was on the back of Audley Harrison.
Yes, it was.
With getting the funding. I remember.
Was Audley before? What's his name? Was Audley before Mir Khan?
No, Audley was 2000. Amir Khan was 2004.
Right. So they both kind of played a massive role, because you guys weren't earning a living, were you? From not much of a living.
Well, I'd rejoined the army then, so I was okay. I was being seconded to full-time training, and then I remember Terry Edwards, because he sort of took over the mantle of, and so it was him and Kelvin Travis, and he came up to us one day in Crystal Palace and said, how, individually, he said, "What's your thoughts on becoming a full-time athlete? We think that you have the ability to qualify for the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens." And when he said that to me like that, I went, "What?" He says, "You'll be paid this amount a week, right? We'll train in 4 places: Crystal Palace, Peterlee, Manchester, and Sheffield." Now Sheffield being the home of GB boxing, obviously, and you will travel around to try and ascertain the right amount of experience to put you in the best stead to qualify. So that was amazing. And I mean, to become a full-time athlete was just fantastic. And then you start getting the support. I mean, we only started doing S&C then with a guy called Keith Morgan. He used to do all the in Crystal Palace, but it was new. You see, everything was sort of new, and
well, people didn't believe in it, did they? They didn't believe in essence doing weights because it slowed boxers down. That was the
and it's just that education, isn't it? Really, I mean, to be honest, when I was boxing, especially having went full circle and worked with the likes of Dave Holloway and Lee Pullen, and so is that I wish I knew, as a boxer, what I know now, I'd be such a better boxer, just like simple things, like, tactics and things like that. It's just fascinating,
But there wasn't the same kind of training now. There wasn't the same kind of knowledge, because the things even that you do on camps, even things like doing technical sparring rather than always open sparring, just little things like that. Everyone always open sparred, like every session, and was trying to knock people's heads off. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
and that's not good, is it? I mean, like, I think we used to train down there, used to try and cram as much as they could in them weekends, and that's why it comes so much better when you've done full, because you were training 4 days of the week anyway. Sometimes 5, but but sometimes you do 5 sessions on one day on a weekend. That's too much, and you would just lie in your bed trying to recover, and then getting up like Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to get warmed up for the next training session. But when we became full-time athletes, it was so much better. And I kind of commend Terry Edwards a lot because I learned a lot from him, which I still use now as my part of my coaching ideals. And you only learn from different people, and you learn from that time that you went through as a boxer, because you have that empathy now for the boxers. You know what it's like to make weight. You know what you're feeling beforehand. But everyone's different. So that's why you treat everyone different. But it was just fantastic, especially it was with some incredible boxers. One of my best friends, Darren Langley, used to share a room with him. Great kid, and now works in the House of Parliament. I was seeing a few weeks ago, and Darren Barker, Amir
Yes,
Khan,
of course.
David Pryce,
Yes.
like David Dolan, Gary Sykes, a lot of great kids, who went on to become legends.
Yeah.
Darren Barker, what he went through, and to lift that world title, and just fantastic,
I used to hear the alternative side of what used to go on with you guys. Can
Yeah.
you share any of those stories? I heard that some people used to sneak out, climb out of windows.
Well, I wouldn't. I don't know about that, because I think when we become full-time athletes, on the camps before, I'd say so. But I was kind of new, and for me, I wasn't the most gifted boxer. I think I go through hard work, and obviously with my army background, I would say I was more disciplined, and I never wanted to mess anything up. So I was probably one of the good ones, which led me to a few times of being team captain. But I was one of the good ones, but there wasn't very much. And to be honest, maybe in the early days, but when we were on full-time training, you were driven, and I see that same hunger and desire in some of the GB athletes now, especially when I was working there with the likes of the McCormacks and things like that. But it's you were just driven because you had one goal, and that was to try and qualify for the Olympics. But unfortunately, that time there was only Amir Khan that qualified. But there was a lot of politics, I mean, probably not as many as that there is now, but there was still a lot of different factors that kind of affected one's performance or whatever. To be honest, I'm on a group now with lots of boxers, the Smith brothers, like so many to mention. Tony Jeffries, who took my place as a light heavy, and the next one, and we just all talked about, like how good it was back then. When you traveled the world, even those that did really well as professionals, they didn't have the same enjoyment what they had, when they boxed for England, traveling the world for GB.
Dare I say, nowadays, because it's so developed, it's almost slightly easier because they're being gifted, not gifted because they all work, but like we said, they've got strength and conditioning coaches, they've got nutritionalists, they've got all the pieces. Do you know what I'm saying? And you guys were kind of some of the first to kind of go through that full-time training. So, in some respects, they have had it slightly easier. And then from Amir Khan, obviously, they just built and built. What do you think, just briefly, to possibly the reasons why Team GB didn't do as well this Olympic cycle?
Well, there's probably a number of factors, really. I'd say probably it was always going to be hard to get anywhere near what they did in Tokyo, which was absolutely amazing, record breaking. But you've got to remember is that COVID hit a big part, and it gave those kids, during the Tokyo cycle an extra year, sort of, which benefit them. So really for this cycle, you could say that them new kids they had less time. They probably only had 3 years. So I think that was a bit of a factor. And maybe because of the political situation where, with IBA World Boxing, IOC, is that maybe the boxers potentially never got enough competition, as opposed to the cycle before that. So there's a lot of different factors. I was looking to be there, especially the two world qualifiers, and obviously be alongside GB and watch some of the boxers perform. But it was just tough. To qualify for the Olympics nowadays is really tough. Especially with the less amount of quotas that are given, the number of spots available, and obviously the gender equality, and rightly so. The women having the same. So it's just tough, and then you've got the draw to deal with, and if you've got a bit of a bad draw, and so there's many different factors. But I'd definitely say the two main ones were maybe that new cycle didn't have enough time as opposed to the cycle before. Maybe not enough competition, but yeah, but that's just sort of looking from a distance,
And I also wonder, thinking about it, it could just literally be we all go in cycles, and we've had our time, and then it was somebody else's time, and then we kind of have to regroup and rebuild.